May the words of my mouth, the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our rock and our salvation. Amen. This week, since Thanksgiving is not a biblical holiday, but really a state-established day, like President's Day, I thought it was fair to address it or speak about it with that in mind. So I ask you, and you don't have to respond or raise your hands or anything, I ask you a simple question to begin. Do you see our country as a grateful nation? Do you see our country as a grateful nation? If so, I'd love to hear your reasoning after worship when I have more time. Because from a personal perspective, I have some serious reservations. Why? Well, let me begin by saying gratefulness, or being grateful for the blessings we have, there's a difference between gratefulness and giving thanks or thanksgiving. Okay? Gratefulness is a way of living. It is an existential thing. It is who you are and how you want to act. And regardless of the circumstances, you seek to behave in that way. That's what the Apostle Paul was talking about in Thessalonians. In all circumstances, be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful when you are pulled over for speeding that it didn't cost you more. I'm being facetious, but be grateful. Thankfulness is usually tied to an act or an event. Someone holds the door open for you, you can be thankful for that act, but then it kind of dissipates until the next act takes place. So when you gather on Thanksgiving, you may be thankful for the food in front of you, but the attitude of gratefulness for the people around the table or whatever they bring or offer to you is really the difference and the essence of what I'm trying to go at. And so when we think about how our nation, our society functions, do we practice thanks or gratitude? Are we a grateful nation or not? Because it seems to me that we have established a way of living, a way of operating that has become so consumed by us, me, our individuality, that we're afraid that somebody else is going to get something that should be ours. Rather than approaching it and saying, I'm really grateful for what I have and what's around me and these kinds of things, there is that dissatisfaction that's built into how we function that constantly keeps us restless. We're dissatisfied with where we are. We're dissatisfied with who we are. We're unsatisfied that somebody else maybe got a better deal than we did in life. All of which translates into negativity. It divides us into them and us, you and me, him and her, and it increases our hostility towards almost anybody at any moment and produces sometimes from some very radical responses. Last night, once more, there was a shooting in the country. This time it was a gay nightclub in Colorado. And of course, there's all kinds of reasons and the way we could try to get at the root cause of that, but there's a part of me that sees it, the people that do this, it's somehow so angry at other people that that's how they act out. And the hatred is that somehow those people, whoever they may be, expressing their freedom and using their freedom in a way I may like or disagree with or not, takes away from my freedom, so I've got to get rid of them. Does that make any sense? That somehow they don't directly infringe on me, but their presence offends me or it infringes upon me, and so I'm going to eliminate because they're taking something from me. But are they? Are they? A nation that is truly grateful is grateful for the freedoms we all have and seek to defend for all people. That's a tough thing. That's like saying Sunday after Sunday, no matter who you are or where you are in life journey, you are welcome here, without going, well, look at that person. What are they doing here, right? They don't take anything away from you. In fact, they add something to us. But we've created a cavern between us, or the haves, have-nots, however we want to define it. And in doing so, we become ungrateful for the bounty that God has given to all of us. The things that separate us, whether they're rules, regulations, or borders, right? They're all created by us, people. God didn't create them. The goodness of creation is the Lord's, scriptures say. We're just beneficiaries. Yet we think and become very, very possessive as though it belongs to me in particular. And to that end, the society we've created has these ways of achieving that, keeping and taking, that are sometimes very subtle, other times very openly contradictory. Do you remember, and I know some of you have to, because even as old as I am, there's some of you here older than me, right? Do you remember years ago when the movie previews would have these little flashes of Coke and popcorn in them? Subliminal, right? You couldn't see them, but all of a sudden you had a craving for popcorn or Coke. They were made illegal because it was a form of manipulation, right? Of getting something from you that I want. In this case, your money. They can't do that anymore because we become far more sophisticated at it. The internet does it all the time. Maneuvers and manipulates us. It creates things that work in a psychosocial kind of way. And, even Facebook, I think, admitted that. Showing things, targeting you in a way that is even more seditious because it causes your body to release endorphins. That you crave it, you want it, and so you get a shot of it, but then you want that shot again and again and again. It is, I think, the opposite of a country that's grateful, not giving people what they need and trying to help them, but taking all we can from them. It is such a big thing these days that they even have names for professionals that do this. They're called neuromarketers because they know the psychology behind it. And no matter how we justify it, it is a way of not being grateful for who we are, how we are, or what is a matter of providing what is needed rather than convincing people their needs are way beyond their means. It's still an example of not living gratefully, I think. And I don't think, you're not going to get rid of it. I'm not going to get rid of it, but to be aware of it at least can help us. The Hebrew word for gratitude is hakarat hatov, hakarat hatov. And its literal translation is recognizing the good. So gratitude is simply recognizing the good that is already present. It's not based on dissatisfaction. It's not based on jealousy. It's not based on getting more and over-the-top kind of thing. It's just simply looking at life and already appreciating what's there. Recognizing the good. It's not dependent on getting something good, even experiencing good. It is based upon an appreciation for what is. Because gratitude is not something occasional, it's not something trite. When you achieve a way of living that is grateful, it is built into your psyche. It is built into your psyche. It is how you want to be and how you think the world should be. So much of our anxiety and so much of our, well, actually depression, and I was reading a text just this last week. I just think I will put it in the blast because I think everybody should really read it, written by a medical doctor, and all the psychoanalytics they have done, but all of the illnesses that affect us mentally, physically, because we are dissatisfied. And we're angry as a result and hostile towards others, just rather than simply knowing and being appreciative and grateful for who we are and what we are. You know, to be a good person, a kid's told, you got to get good grades. Okay, may make you a better person, but does that diminish who you are? Or add to it one way or another? You are who you are. An illustration from this church, you know, I come every week, and I'm very grateful for the people who do things that I don't have to do. Does that sound silly or not? I don't think so. You know, I'm grateful for the choir and the time they put in, and the organist, and all the other people, the ushers, the deacons. I'm grateful for that because they are offering and doing what they can to make the whole system function. And then it's good for everybody, you see. We had a member, or a family in this church years ago. They're gone now. But they're an illustration of that. They had been very successful. They were from Louisville, and Ken Hall. Some of you may have known the Halls. They lived at Isla. They'd been very successful in their business. They were in the construction business, and he had served on the board of a seminary in Louisville as well as on the city council, all kinds of, they were very civic-minded. But when they retired, they did something very unusual because they could do whatever they wanted, obviously, because of the success of their hard work and their labors. But when they retired, they worried about the people who worked for them, who would be unemployed, who didn't have the luxury of what they had gotten over the years. And they were grateful that those people had worked loyally for them. So they gave to all their employees the business. They gave it to them. They said, it's yours now. You've earned this sort of thing. There is that gratitude that I am who I am because of all of the people who've made sacrifices on my behalf. And I can only pray that maybe some of the things I have sacrificed or done help someone else. It's not a quid pro quo. It's about doing the good because it makes us all gooder. Right? It makes us better. It's not a take all you can get. It's a give all, not give all, but give the best of what you have. And when you do that, you just appreciate your existence so much more. There is meaning that cannot be found another way. It was Frank Clark who said, if someone isn't thankful for what they've got, they are likely not to be thankful for anything they're going to get. If you are not thankful for what you got, you're probably not going to be thankful for anything you might get. It's an attitude, not an event. It's a way of living, a lifestyle, not one day. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge. My father, I've said many times, he retired after 40 years of ministry, and as you know, my second church was about 15 miles away from where my parents lived. And when I'd have a really rough time, get discouraged, I'd go and talk to him, and he would share a few things. And once in a while, it was about members who I didn't perceive were treating me nicely. How about that? Or didn't like me for whatever reason. And my dad told me, he says, Keith, be thankful for them. I'm going, what? He said, be thankful for them because they keep the other people who are helping you on their toes. It's a perception of gratefulness that helps us all to function and to move on and to be better. When I look around at the world, I conclude that there's enough grumbling and complaining these days. There's enough of it to go around, which only drags all of us down, and frankly, I'm exhausted by it. It's in many ways become so familiar to us, we don't know it, and it's toxic. It's toxic. Maybe that's why the word Selah is so important in this psalm, because we can identify the others, we can say the others, but Selah is not translated for us. We have to translate it for ourselves. And since I don't know what it means, you can't tell me I'm wrong. And I can't tell you you're wrong. It's an equalizing word. I choose to translate it as be grateful. Be grateful. The people of Israel gathered once a year to renew their covenant with each other. It's very likely Psalm 67 was something they used within that service. A covenant that said, I don't belong, it's not about me individually, it's about me individually within the us, that are all of us, that somehow we need to give thanks to God and appreciate what God has given in different quantities and qualities to all of us, because together we can make a society, a world that is fair and just, not at war, but peace. So I choose to translate the word today as Selah, as be grateful. Learn to be grateful. Encourage others to be grateful. To think of the blessings you have as ways to bless others. That it will come back tenfold. That it will help us all to feel better about ourselves and to feel better about, well, I got a neighbor like that I struggle with, but even to feel better about them, right? To feel better and to work and to see the good that the word in Hebrew, Hatov, says, the good that is already there. So here and now, I want to declare, despite what anybody else says, the word Selah means be grateful. Live gratefully. And even if I'm wrong, do it anyway, because it can't hurt. It can only help. And in this time, I think we can use all the help we can get. Selah.